Coming to you from UBN Studios in Burbank, California. You're listening to the Unsugar-Coated Podcast with your hosts, Aalia and Alex and Alexandra Checa.
I love the applause.
hello, and welcome back. We are starting off season 2, everybody. I'm Aalia.
And I'm Alexandra.
And we're really glad if you're still sticking around with us. I apologize. It was an exciting first season. We've learned during the break a little bit, and we're going to try and give you guys an even better show of we're going to continue wonderful guests, wonderful conversation, and hope that we can offer you something of value each and every single time, right?
Of course. Yeah. And today, before that, today we have an amazing guest, and I'm so excited about her. But before we touch on that, let's talk about the horrible news that LA got.
Well, the world.
I mean, LA is the home, and the world got, like you said. Do you want to touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like Kobe Bryant's death, and as well, I mean, actually, my best friend and publicist is related by marriage to one of the people who passed away, Christina Mauser. So it's interesting, 6 degrees of separation. I had my son go to the Friday game. I was at home with a sick child, actually bawling my eyes out, of course, like a lot of people. I watched him grow up. I mean, I'm 45. Yeah. I'm actually a big sports person. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because a lot of people are surprised. I love sports. I actually respect the what it takes to get something done. And I've referenced Kobe 1,000 times when I've tried to talk to my kids about an example of determination and the inspiration, the tragedy of losing his daughter, the irony of the entire situation, because death is horrible no matter what. And people die every single day that had purpose and everything in front of them. But the entire tragic irony is multiple of, my husband and I were just saying yesterday, and I people always say this to me. Sorry, I backtrack on that, but people are always like, you beat cancer 3 times. Bravo. High five. And I'm like, thank you for that. And it's like they kind of have this, like, I beat it. Like I did it. Like I cheated death, as someone else said to me just recently. And I'm like, yeah, but no, I still feel, and that's why I always push people to recognize, don't take time for granted, because none of us have it guaranteed. I could have survived cancer 3 times to die in a car accident tomorrow, because a certain factor in life, man, just happens to be luck.
Yeah. Yeah. And Kobe was one of those people that people thought they were going to live forever.
Right.
Right. So when I found out that he had passed away, actually was one of my friends. She was on Twitter. She said, hey, Kobe passed away. And we were in the restaurant, and the waiters were like, no, he didn't. Right. Like, stop reading. These are fake news. Like, come on. And so I could see the, what is that word? The not wanting to accept it.
Right.
Right?
And denial. A blatant denial.
And more credible media than, TMZ has started putting out news, and people are like, there has to be something wrong with the internet today.
Right.
And it just shows just how much, then we found out that Gigi was in there, and it was horrible. Not that Kobe dying is not horrible, but like a 13-year-old, it feels, it's a different feeling.
You feel like the universe got it wrong.
Right.
The universe, you got this one wrong. And that's, I know.
And
I
all
get
those hits in there.
Everything, the whole entire situation. And it's funny because I saw the Jerry West interview on Extra, and I was very moved by it because he said, and I don't think we've ever, at least in my lifetime, and I've seen people cry. I mean, JFK interviews. Well, I wasn't alive when that happened, but you've seen some of the outpouring of love for JFK when he was assassinated. But in my time, I've never seen something like this, and grown men crying one after another. And Jerry West said, some people want to laugh at a bunch of grown men crying.
Right.
But people maybe want to understand that that's how big the impact of this athlete was. And for a lot of political people that want to say to athletes, why don't you mind your business and stay in your lane? He said, well, maybe some of the politicians need to understand and take a listen to these athletes that do go out there and make such significant change and impact on not just our local community, but the world, as I feel it. I mean, I was actually on the phone with one of my friends of a pool in London, And it was a long distance call. So, your kids, when they bother you when you're on a phone call, you're kind of like, hold on, I'm busy. And then finally my son just came into my daughter's room where I was sitting there playing with her kind of on the phone. And then he's like, points to the TV. And I just read Kobe Bryant dies in helicopter crash. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
No. And then my friend was like, what? And I'm like, oh my God, turn on your news.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant has died. And he then turned on his news. And even in the UK, it wasn't something that just hit here.
Yeah,
so,
it hit around the world.
And you feel for the rest of his family, his daughters now that, and of course that's the thing. A lot of people, we work hard. We sacrifice so much time with our family and our kids. And then, but retirement or that point of, okay, I don't have to do that anymore is supposed to be the payoff.
Right.
And of course, another irony and tragedy is that he doesn't have that now. He put in so much time. They say he was up at 5 a.m. And I mean, it just gets me. And I think about Vanessa. I don't care who thought whatever about her. That woman lost her husband and a child.
Yeah. And
that's significant.
Yeah. Now that we're on that topic, I just want to send my condolences to Coach Andy George. It's crazy because I had no clue, but his sister was Sarah Chester, and he was the uncle to Peyton, and he's the football coach to my high school. So I was it's the proximity of these things are insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Insane.
Absolutely.
And, I just want to send all my love to Lucerna.
Absolutely. Condolences and thoughts and prayers for everybody still grappling, including me.
Yeah.
And it's funny because as a girl, you think, and I do have to say this for any person who said something negative. Like I saw horrible things of, comedians thinking, I'm glad he's dead. You're sick.
Wait,
there were people and children on that.
Comedians are making
there
fun
was
of
a
us?
particular comedian. He lost his representation over it, but he was I know
What did he say?
I have to I know I'm saying it and not showing it, but I believe his name. I don't want to say the wrong name and then mess up.
Right.
But he is a comedian who went on saying, "I'm glad he's dead. Hooray," and posted a social media post, and it was just disgusting and gross.
What are you talking about?
If you have a Bible in your home and you think it's funny or cool that this man and his daughter and all these other families that were impacted, shame on you. Shame on you. That's not of God. God don't like ugly.
Wow.
So, not that everyone,
That's
I know I
messed
got
up.
really a little bit heated, but for anybody, that's just wrong, right? And I was very disheartened to see that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have something nice to say, what did your mama teach you?
Don't say nothing at all.
There we go. All right. Well, you know what? We're going to move on to something a little bit.
Our hearts are heavy, so let's move into a more positive.
We are going to move into something positive and amazing, and I'm very, very excited to share it with everybody. I have something to say. Everything has beauty, but not everyone can see it. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to share since 2006, our guest, San Fernando Valley native and Emmy-nominated Makeup Department Head Tanya Green, has been bringing you beautiful faces night after night on some of TV's most recognizable shows, such as American Idol, America's Got Talent, So You Think You Can Dance, World of Dance, and Flirty Dancing, just to name a few. She's used to being behind the camera, but we're happy to have her in front of it today. Everyone, please welcome Tanya Green.
Everybody loves it.
It's so weird to hear yourself described by somebody else because
well, maybe it's fine time you get it, girl.
Well, I do what I love, so it's so not all of that, and then when you put it into words, it's a little different.
Yeah,
I get that. I get that. Well, but you are. The epitome of a working mom. Mm-hmm. I love that. This is so many layers to your story.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you just got back from Hawaii yesterday.
I did.
And I know your time.
Still on island time.
She walked in with her Starbucks. I'm like, poor baby. Thank you. So a lot of people are probably going to assume that we actually brought you on here to talk about makeup, but we actually want to talk a little bit more issues. I want to say, or I want to ask you first to explain to the audience how you got started in this industry, and did you expect to be in this field?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know how I'm here. I never in a million years would have dreamt that this is what my career ended up being, and that I'd be able to be a mom and be a working mom and just have the opportunities to work with the people and on the shows that I have.
Absolutely.
And it just started, I was going to school in San Diego State, And I decided to get a job out there doing makeup at Macy's. You like start at the fragrance counter and then you move into, if the line has an opening, you try to, since you're already in the beauty department or whatever. So I ended up working for a company called Prescriptives, which I think is still available online, but it's not like you can't go to the counter anymore. But the best thing about it is that it was all custom colors. So you would actually have your red, blue, purple, all of the different colors of the powders, and you would custom make it for whoever was coming to the counter. And so I learned so much about just skin tone, undertones, how to read it, how to kind of pull it out before you even start. So we actually mix our foundations on our palettes, and you don't just use something straight from the bottle. There's just so many different, parts of the face and tones and the way things read. So anyhow, I'm so grateful that I worked for that line just because of that, because I do see myself using that a lot today. And then I think it was my sophomore year, I had called my parents and said, I think I want to go to Marinello Beauty School. And they're like, great, you can do that after you finish college.
Right.
They're like, I'm like, okay. So I went ahead and I finished my degree. I was a communications, public relations major. And then after that, I went to work. I had met a girl, Amy, while I was working at the makeup counters. And her cousin was the lead on American Idol, and she was interested in developing a makeup line, and it was just on the cusp of high definition happening.
Wow.
So we were literally going through the products and kind of testing them on the show. Once I did come, let me backtrack, sorry. I ended up going to work for an ad agency down there, and I was doing the commercials. So I did the makeup for the commercials, and I did all the media buying for TV and radio. And then Mishkan was making her line, and she's like, if you want a job, if you move back up here, you
were there in the right place at the right time.
Right place, right time, yeah. So she gave me an opportunity to get into the business, and I never looked back.
Yeah.
I love what I do, and I love doing it with the people I do it with, and
So I have to say this: you are Emmy nominated for a show. You're multiple award nominated. You've had all these experience for your work.
Yes.
It's clear in order to do that, you must be creating a culture with your staff. Tell with me, what is the culture you create for your departments there?
So I think my biggest goal is to put people where they're going to succeed. So if I have an artist that's, strong in, special effects or, creative when it comes to doing something that's not a beauty makeup, it's like I'll put them on that assignment. Or, a lot of my shows, they're game shows and, things of that nature. It's just regular people and regular beauty makeup polishing. But some of them, like the dance shows, you're pulling out looks. And you've got to be creative. You've got to be able to follow it fast and be able to deal with the changes. So you don't want to put someone that's used to an episodic pace where they have all the time in the world to do somebody in that situation and have them fail.
Right.
So that's kind of how I go about putting together my teams. And my teams are always very different. I do have some people that are carried on with me, but I feel like I switch it up every show just to have that diversity and, everybody's talents and around and
new flow of information and techniques and stuff like that. I'm sure I'm sure they're lucky to have those opportunities. We did find we'd shown some behind the scenes shots while you were answering, but I love this one of Lionel Richie that we found on social media. Him giving you props, his big old smile.
Yes.
And it must feel really good to, I know you work with you sometimes work with the contestants or people, and then the talent, but when you get to work with them, it must feel good to just feel like you did put a smile on their face.
It is, yeah. Energy is contagious, so I feel like whatever the person you're working with or on is putting out is what you're going to put out, what you receive, or just me as being a department head or a boss. It's like the more good energy I'm putting out, encouraging and just kind of giving them love. And I always put as part of my hashtag, you're only as good as your team, because it's true.
Right.
It's not me doing 400 people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
It's, so many other people involved. So give credit where credit's due, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to give Alex, I know she has some questions, but I do want to say, like, it must also, I loved in our initial conversation, we talked about enhancing. I used to be the girl who used to want to take other little girls that I saw get picked on for their looks, or maybe, I mean, I genuinely remember this girl. She didn't have as much money. I don't know. Her mom wasn't like super stylish, so she would come to school. Her hair would be a little greasy, and she didn't have like the trendiest clothes or any makeup. And I used to want to take her home and just make her over.
Yeah.
But show people who she's not to change her, because that's the thing, and that's why we're excited to have you on. We live in a makeup culture right now that everyone wants to look like Kim K, and Kim K doesn't even look like herself anymore. I'm not saying that, and like our mission with makeup should be to enhance, not change who we are. Right. So, that's something that I know we had talked about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first, before I forget, I am always so amazed at looking at these, for like example, Dancing with the Stars, these women that are dancing their butts off, and then you see them, the camera, and their makeup is like
on point.
Perfect. I'm like, my makeup doesn't look like that.
My show, but I do know the makeup artists over there, and they're great. We're usually in the same category for nominations,
right?
Where it's like, oh gosh, you guys deserve it, and they're like, oh, you deserve it.
Or like World of Dance.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You see them dancing and they're sweating, but their makeup looks, amazing.
And that's all day. It's not like we do them and then they go out. They are doing rehearsals all day and interviews and moved from point A, point B, C, D. Everybody having to upkeep all day long. It's not just like I think some people think when you work in TV and you do makeup, you go and you do the makeup and then they go off and do whatever they're doing. But especially a dance show, you're just like, you're constantly, we mop more sweat than we put on.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
It's really glamorous. There's sometimes where I'm like, oh gosh, like if people only knew what we actually have to do.
Well, I say that about a lot of jobs, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
So go ahead.
So, in the idea of beauty and attractiveness, right? So, going a little bit deeper on beauty. So the idea of beauty. The idea of beauty being for attractive to me is like it's not current anymore, I feel like, because facial attractiveness is unrelated to health as it was once thought back in the day, like evolutionary. However, the attractiveness is part of our status ranking among our same-sex peers, and it does have a correlation with mating, likability, and relatability. So in that point, I want to talk about makeup and girls, like young girls, right? So raise your hand if you ever got in trouble with your mom because you stole her makeup, you forgot to put it back. I've had so many arguments with my mother like that. So in your opinion, at what age should girls start wearing makeup? And does starting at a certain age make any difference?
I don't know that it makes a difference, the age. It's an interesting question to ask me because I have 4 girls. One of them 16. Yeah. My next in line is turning 12. Mm-hmm. And I think it's dangerous if they think that they need it.
Right, exactly.
I think that's where that decision would be made. It's like you don't need to wear makeup. Mm-hmm. And you're comfortable with yourself without it, and that's not why you're doing it. If you're doing it because you just want to play or experiment or, that sort of thing, I have at it. I think Instagram and social media is an interesting thing because it gives you access to so many different, beautiful makeups, artistic talents, and just so many things to I want to try that, or let's experiment with that, or, seeing looks that you wouldn't normally see in a beauty book.
Right.
And so I think that that's, a benefit of it, but I think we're getting into a dangerous culture of cover it all up, start with a white canvas, blank canvas, and then go ahead and paint your picture, which instead of working with what they have, they're just starting, from what they think is scratch. Yeah. Let me put my features in. Let me draw my beauty on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It's funny because leading up to this, I thought about how my grandmother used to say to me, and I knew she I always talk about my grandmother's ideas and things that she taught me because it's important. I know I'm not alone, and I want other women to understand, oh, yeah, my grandmother said the same thing, too. Oh, okay. So well-intentioned, she would say, don't go out of the house without makeup, which is fine. I understand what she was trying to teach me. Take care of yourself. Never stop doing that. That's true. I mean, I'm going to be 45 this year. I still put on my makeup when I can. But the thing is, my grandmother stopped to say, but guess what? You're beautiful even without it. Right? Like that was the part that
She forgot
the
that
second part of the lesson was
Absolutely.
you're still beautiful without it. So when you say that, I agree. As you know, I have 3 daughters and, you know, 1 son, and it's like, yeah, this culture. So, you know, when you say that, when you say it's getting dangerous, well, look at how the reaction was to Alicia Keys and Alessia Cara when they did the no makeup movement, which for some reason was perceived that they didn't like makeup at all. But as a woman who I don't wear a lot of makeup and I am my age, a lot of people tell me how young I look. And they're always like, oh my gosh, you look so young for your age. Well, guess what my secret was, girls? Not wearing a shitload of makeup when I was younger. You know, that's my secret. I drank a lot of water and I didn't drink a lot of tequila shots on the weekend. And, you know, a part of, you know, people are so so here's a statistic. According to MarketWatch.com, the global cosmetic products market was valued at $532 billion in 2017 for the U.S. and is expected to reach, global, and it's expected to reach a market value of $805 billion by 2023.
Wow.
How much of our makeup and youthful obsessed culture is rooted in women telling themselves they aren't beautiful enough? What do you think?
I think that it's not that they're telling themselves they're not beautiful enough, but just never really seeing anything. And especially with, again, going back to social media, I hate to keep doing it, but most of it's not real. It's all perfectly lit. It's filtered. It's photoshopped. I mean, you can make your waist smaller if you want to. You can make your nose point. Like, it's so crazy. Whereas Photoshop used to be like when you had 12 kids in a picture and one wasn't looking the right way, you could like cut the head off it and like throw it in. Now it's like, go ahead and change it to whatever. Go ahead and change it to whatever you want to be. And you know, I think that unfortunately, that makes them looking at an unattainable beauty, where everything is perfect or perfectly lit. I mean, lighting is everything.
Yes.
We go through it just trying to take pictures, you know, behind the scenes, just get like what the makeups look like. And if you're not in the right lighting, you've got like 2 holes in your eyes and you're like, but it doesn't look like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, there's so much put into what everybody thinks is beautiful or perfect, and when you really would see it for in person or what it is, it's you realize it's a false reality.
Right. And talking about not being able to leave the house with no makeup on, and talking about social media making you believe that you can look like that and that person kind of looks like that with no makeup on, but then they take off their makeup and they're like, oh wait, you don't look like that anymore. So in that subject, you know, the internet is a crazy place where you find all kinds of crazy things. And I found a story from 2015, a groom in Nigeria suing his wife and demanding nearly $20,000 in damages for psychological suffering after he saw his wife with no makeup on the next day.
No.
Do you remember this story? I remember this story.
You guys
do.
The before and the after picture, I mean, it looks like another person. Even the skin color is different.
Oh my god.
She was getting up at like 4 a.m. to like do the makeup and get back in bed, like the movies where women will do that.
Right.
I just woke up, you know, bridesmaids.
Oh my gosh.
So for the sake of conversation, do you think that women are out here tricking men a little bit with the makeup?
I mean, it is a joke. People, you do see like all these memes and you know, it's definitely some people's thoughts if they're making memes about it. Yeah. I think that's hilarious.
I know.
I mean, it's sad.
Very sad.
It's also hilarious.
It is. It was so. I remember that
gosh.
report.
Yeah.
Now, and you know, I want to talk about, because in that same conversation, though, I think that the times that doesn't bother me as much, unless it's for like a performance or something. You know, if there's something that you know, like you said, but if Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I did that thing.
We're talking about ribs in
my
Nigeria, $20,000 psychological.
Thank you. I got it back. Okay, thank you. Brain work. So in that, like, the when it does not bother me is when you have women who have been physically scarred by physical abuse,
Absolutely.
accidents.
I mean,
we talked about that. Like, that's different. To be able to give someone back a sense of themselves is empowering, and make them feel, because
Or little things like acne scars,
sure,
right? Or patches of, I don't know, I feel like pregnant women get this a lot when they're pregnant, patches on their skin, it
melasma,
just doesn't go away.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. For sure. So, okay, there's an article that I had come up with, and we'll kind of just go over the points really quick. I want to see your thoughts on it. So, 7 reasons why wearing makeup can make you a stronger woman. It's womeninweek.com. And so they offered these tips. I kind of want to hear your thoughts on it. Women often have a really conflicted relationship with makeup. Author Autumn Whitfield Mandrano says, women who want to wear makeup but aren't sure about it, women who wear it but feel guilty about it, then there are lots of really positive reasons to wear makeup. Sorry. What do you think about that? Like, with what you see, you deal with a lot of contestants, and your job is to get them to come out on stage and feel good and perform, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that just because it makes you more confident doesn't mean it's define the way that you are wearing it. Like, a lot of the times, I definitely, when I have somebody in my chair, I want them to feel like themselves, but just like a polished version of themselves. You know, you don't want to change everything around. And sometimes we'll have them come in with makeup so we know what they're used to. You know, like if I'm not going to throw a big old lash and a real smoky eye on someone that comes in like you, because I don't know if that's your comfort zone yet. You know, you need to feel comfortable. You need to not be thinking about your face. You need to be thinking about what you got to do out there.
If you give me a smoky eye, my attitude's going to be like, don't you come to me with an attitude. I look at my eyes.
That's so
It gives
funny.
you that kind of attitude, though, you know?
I mean, I feel more confident with my makeup on. I'm not
Right.
going to lie. I think everybody does.
Right.
I think that's a very true statement.
Right.
But it's also like, again, that whole dangerous line of needing it to feel confident. You know, when I'm taking my kids to school, I don't have makeup on. I'm mom, and I'm going places, and I don't feel, naked or anything. I just don't even. It's not part of my day at that point. But if I'm going to work, I put my makeup on.
Sure.
So
I recently was getting my lashes done, and people who know my story, being a cancer survivor, I struggle with hair issues. Okay, I had to have I remember my friend was like, if I wrote a book, it'd be eyebrows are or hair is overrated, eyebrows are not. Like, when you don't have any eyebrows, it affects you, right, when you wake up in the morning. So I remember getting the eyebrows tattooed one time when I was overseas, and then I would get my lashes done because at least with that I felt a little bit done up, which is fine. I'm not ashamed of that. But then my girl moved, and we've been so busy. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna have to let them come off. So what I'm mad about, and why I'm saying this story, is because I remember looking in my mirror when they were all gone, and I said, you're so ugly without lashes. And you know what? I'm so thankful to the inner Aalia who's turned around and said, shut the hell up, girl.
Yeah.
You better stop telling yourself that, because those lashes didn't make you. And so to any, because we also can feel guilty for not doing enough to feel good. If I'm not getting I don't have my nails done. Well, no, I actually have gold on. I do. But I did this with my daughter because I didn't have purple, but anyways, gold. So purple and gold. My point is, like, I encourage anyone to remember, when you look in the mirror, because we do it, we tell ourselves those negative things constantly.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just human nature, I feel like. And I don't think that your makeup is going to make that go away, I mean, that inner voice, you got to just have that confidence as a woman that, you know what, it's not what I look like. It's what I think, how I am as a person, what's on the inside.
When you build that. That's why things like this are good. That's why our type of podcasts and the conversations that we're trying to have bring value to someone's life, because we think that way because we've grown and we've arrived at that place. But there's still so many people out there that haven't. So that inner voice and everything that we talk about with personal development, empowerment, and going out there, attend some seminars, take some courses online, do things that make you learn how to build up that inner voice so that when the negativity comes, you are trained in yourself to say, knock it off. I don't want to hear that. So it boosts confidence for sure. It can help you connect with other women with something I like that they said, right?
Yeah.
Oh, girl, I love your lashes. Oh,
Exactly.
What mascara are you using? Or right?
But do you ever feel like, and I feel this sometimes all the time, where when I'm talking to a woman that's maybe is not wearing makeup, but I am, their interaction is quite differently if I was also not wearing makeup with her. Like it almost feels like it's a little more threatening, I feel like.
But do you feel she feels intimidated by you?
Yeah, and I'm not trying to make her feel like that, but I know that we would be having a different conversation if I was also no makeup on.
Do you really believe that, or maybe it's because you're so beautiful that's a little intimidating, not necessarily the makeup that you're wearing?
No, it was actually
there's that.
No, one of my friends now, like we had this random conversation about, how women feel when around other women that are wearing makeup and they're not wearing makeup. So she said, I feel a little intimidated because you're wearing makeup and like you look so good and like I'm not wearing any makeup. So it might be also like a self-esteem thing. But I feel like I find it all the time, especially like when I'm networking and I'm either wearing a little bit more makeup than them. They just seem to be a little shy. And I don't have I can go to networking events with no makeup on. I don't really care. And the interactions are completely different. They are almost like nicer.
That's interesting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Really interesting.
No, I mean, I understand that. I would say I've gone through this similar thing. But there is a level of people. Something similar happened to me when I was at the book fair, or when I went to go receive the award. My most recent novel won an award. I had to go to Miami and accept the award. While I was there, I was at this meeting. A lot of older authors. I don't look like a typical author, especially if I've dressed up. And well, I shouldn't say that. Okay, that's going to sound bad, but I meant it in a good way. Anyone who wants to take that bad. No, because even my author picture for the back of my book, they're like, you're being too sexy.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just looking at the camera. And I can't be sexy and an author too. Like, get the hell out of here. But it just so happens, the women and men that were around me were older than me for the most part. And so I said to another woman who finally started talking to me, something had happened, and she was like, and I said, well, thank you for talking to me because nobody else has. And then she says, well, do you think it's because you're so beautiful? Because you are. And the way she said it, I was honored and humbled. And then I was like, I'm not that cute, but thank you that you think that. But again, that's I don't look at myself through other people's eyes all the time. And if we did, we'd, probably see ourselves differently. Yeah. But I will say I've gone through a lot of experiences where people have told me, well, you intimidate them. And I'm like, I'm not intending to.
But you're not trying to.
Right. Not intending to. Makeup, well, look, another point that they said, makeup makes you feel like you're prepared for battle. How many chicks throw on a pair of shoes, throw on their makeup like a pair of high heels and go out there and they're ready to kick some butt, right?
Absolutely. But I have to tell you, like 9 times out of 10, the first thing that people do when they sit in the chair, be it someone that's performing or just on a game show or whatever, is I have bags under my eyes. I go, tell me everything that's wrong with them, everything that's wrong, so that, because it's such an intimate space and it's just like so vulnerable that they just spew everything that they hate about it. Everything that they would change or just point it out so that it's like not the elephant in the room or something. So I always find that interesting. Where it's like, stop, you're beautiful.
It's true because, but women do that. Like people, I was just saying this to a woman last night. Like, how many times will you walk up to someone and someone will say, oh, you look great. And it's like, I need to lose weight. And we go on and we do that same thing, right? And and I have friends who they'll say, oh, I've gained some weight. And I'm like, and again, you look great because that's, I'm seeing you. And I love that you said that because people do, like girls with curly hair want straight hair. Girls with straight hair want curly hair. The white girls want to be the brown girls, and brown girls want to be the white girls.
Right.
I mean, it's always this ongoing, Another thing that they said is that it's fun. It's fun. I do. I love buying palettes and just doing some crazy, like you said, that is
I love buying
benefit
palettes,
of
and I have
media.
probably every palette that exists. I'm just like, why am I buying another palette? Like, what am I doing? I can make this color. I have it already. But yeah, it is. It's fun. It's playing dress up, it's trying different things, not always doing the same, and just kind of stepping out of your element sometimes and then stepping back into where you're, used to being. And I think
you can become a different person too. I love the ones like I've done a couple photo shoots where I did like the Day of the Dead, and you know, I'm still dying for us to do a really fun, cool, edgy,
just
do
funky,
something funky, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it really is about the artistic presence that you.
I think that's why everyone loves Halloween so much.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an opportunity to do something that you wouldn't normally do to yourself or on a regular day. It's like
can't
people
walk out like sexy nurse tonight.
Just blood all over your chest. You're like, I'm dangerous.
I'm dangerous. Okay, it can make you feel more competent even if you don't feel like it. So again, going back to how did you see a change in somebody? So they sit down in your chair and they're telling you everything that's wrong, but by the time you're done with them,
the posture changes. Like it's a whole new confidence that you can visually see. Whether you know, and it's usually little things, you know, but it's just the fact that they feel like they're ready to go do, you know, ready for the battle.
Right,
as you said.
Exactly. And there's different, it's funny. A study published in the journal Plus One presented participants with 4 versions of the same face, 1 barefaced and 3 with increasing degrees of makeup application, which they termed natural, professional, and glamorous. Participants were asked to rate the different faces for attractiveness, likability, trustworthiness, and competence. Ooh. The research found that participants' feedback did vary for each makeup look, and that all 3 makeup looks rated positively, proving that attractiveness is correlated with competency. Excuse me.
Interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I love that.
And well, I knew girls that would graduate college, and if they were prettier, they would get good jobs, even if they weren't necessarily qualified for them. Yep. I one time had a boss say, you know, you're only gonna get by on your looks for so far. To which I'm like, looks? What are you talking about? I was so baffled. He's like, you know, because it is true that women and men, if you are perceived as better looking, it's interesting how that will affect your career growth too.
Well,
or it can. I'm not saying it does in every single case. I'm saying, like, I'm just being honest. Like, we know that. And I'm trying to how do you let other people know that without sounding like you're being negative?
How do you let other people know? I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry. Yeah, the reality is that when we grow up in this world, like, I don't look at people for any other reason on who they are, how they perform, and their personality, and all. I don't see beauty as a superficial thing, right? But we live in a society that does judge beauty.
Absolutely.
Right. And I hated hearing that when I was growing up, but I grew up to realize it is true. But how do we say that? Because then, like, if I tell that to my daughter, just as like, well, I'm just trying to give you some heads up on like how you're going to be challenged in the world with some of these issues. But how do I inform her, educate her, but not sound like I'm necessarily saying be beautiful, because if you're not beautiful, you're not going to have this wonderful life. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I think it's going back to what you said about the little voice in your head. Like, be that little voice for her. Be that reassuring compliment that she needs to tell herself in a situation where she's not feeling, 100% or confident in the moment. And then have all the little things I think we feed our kids and the people that are around us. I think that somehow they come back to be that little voice at some point where it's like, oh, okay, right, move on,
Yeah, I would agree. And we bring up social media so much, but it is such a part of our lives now. It's affected everything that we do. And I will say my oldest daughter, she didn't get Facebook until she was 15 or 16. My 12-year-old is on Instagram. And I share the account with her. I literally have it attached to my account so I can see everything. But I felt that if I didn't do it, she would go around me like my other kids had tried to do. And so I wanted to just be on it. But how does that, you've mentioned you have a 12-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And we
and
talk about them. Yeah, exactly. So we
That's
have
a
these
lot.
positive and negatives.
And the funny thing is that a lot of these kids have 2 accounts. One that's their just throwaway, anyone can see, and then one that's my really artistic, beautiful pictures and my perfect self.
Right.
Which I'm like, I can't understand that mentality, but that's where they're at, where it's like, why isn't this stuff good enough or, enough of yourself to be put on your real page or whatever. Like it's a whole different mentality. It's really scary as a parent, quite frankly.
Absolutely.
It's I just try to always reiterate, like that's not that's photoshopped, that's fixed, that,
Right.
just so
Right.
that they know and have, a base to kind of.
Yeah, so that they can identify it and see it and know better because, I mean, it's definitely, So moving forward, so it's designated you time when we speak about makeup. I can relate to this being a mom because the one thing I was like with Sophia when I got remarried and had another baby, I'm like, but I have to be able to do my makeup when I want to do my makeup. I have to still be able to do that,
love it.
right?
Yes.
That's a big deal to me.
There's nothing
Please
wrong
don't
with
take
that.
away my time to do myself. Like, it's not that long. I even went on, I have a little IGTV where I'm like, okay, this is how I do it in 5 minutes, just to give people. But like, if I didn't have that time, right? Like that. So, and how long does it take for you to beat a face in the chair on average?
What I would ideally want, but usually don't get, is probably like 45 minutes start to finish.
Nice.
From, because it's the skincare, it's the prepping, it's all of that on top of actually doing the makeups. So I'd say ideally I would always want at least 45 minutes.
And you have a different process because you have TV lights and everything.
Oh my gosh. And it's all just changing always. Like that's another thing. It's the cameras and I had to ask a lighting person the other day. I said, hey, I'm noticing on TV that things are coming out like yellow, and you're able to start seeing a lot of men, especially, that they're actually wearing makeup and where the makeup is. Like, what is it that's changing? That this didn't used to be a problem, and now it is. And, we just talked about the warmth and coolness and going from one to another. And
Can I ask you something? I'm so confused. Why is it that, for example, for people that are talking about the news or people that stay like this for a long time, and you can really look at their faces, why are their eyes different than from their cheeks? Why are they white?
they shouldn't be.
Why? I've seen this
Makeup department
such
head.
a long time. Like,
And my biggest is like the neck, the white,
Yeah,
the
and then
white
you
neck
can
where the
see
makeup
the
stops here. It's my
actual
biggest
thing.
pet peeve. Anybody who's ever worked with me will be like, oh my God, she loses her mind when she sees that. She'll be like, you guys, you got to check the necks because you don't want to put a bunch of makeup there.
Right.
But what's happening now is if you put makeup on the face and you're not letting the true skin show through, it's actually reading as the makeup instead of the skin.
oh, wow.
So, I mean, that's kind of what we're finding and trying to find a balance. Like, I'm a big believer in you only use what you need where you need it.
Right.
So, do the extra concealer, the heavier concealer, if you need it in certain areas, not all over.
Because you know
I
what?
don't know.
She keeps looking at me, and I'm like, I really wish I did my makeup right today.
No, and that's the thing. Everybody's like, oh, are you judging me? Whatever they find out what I do, I'm just like, no, I'm not even. I see you as a person, not your makeup.
I have a funny story about makeup and lights, though. I don't know if it's still happening in the club these days, but when I was younger and I would go to the club, and you could always tell the funniest moment. You could always tell the confident girls from the non-confident girls when those lights would go on and girls would scatter like I mean, like bugs. I don't want to say like people like it was just like you'd see guys because you know how they end off with like a slow dance song and then they're like and then the lights go on. They're like, see ya. Like if you didn't get that number before those lights went on, I'm sorry for you. You missed an opportunity because you can only see me in the dark. Okay.
Those dim lights. The dim lights.
Oh, I think we all have days like that though too, where we're like, oh gosh.
No, I love it. Well, it also says, and I'll give my last one. It says it can help you sleep better. Do you believe that actually wearing, they're saying that according to a study published, women who wore makeup 2 or more days per week showed higher sleep quality than those who wore makeup only 1 day a week or less. So it hypothesized that either chemical compounds in the makeup, the mechanical stimuli of applying makeup, or psychological stimuli of the application process may be the cause.
That's interesting. It's all the work. She had to put in
I was
extra
gonna say.
for those 2 days. So tired.
Right? When my husband comes home and I have makeup on, I'm like, we're going out to dinner tonight?
Yeah.
But
Same.
if I have a yoga bun, or my yoga pants in a bun, and it's like, babe, what's for
Because
pickup?
you don't want to waste all that product, it's like, might as well just go out all day. I have a question for you. I just thought about it right now. Are makeup products that were that are not animal cruelty free, do they tend to be better than the ones that are?
I don't particularly think so. I think that everybody's kind of really nailing like the vegan lines that are coming out.
Okay.
And everybody's able to find whatever ingredients that can make that pigment. I think mostly what you would find is that you just wouldn't have the like pigment and depth and color and
That's
stuff.
what I was going to say, because people want to support the movement, but they also want, they want to cover the things that they want to cover. And sometimes those products, although they are animal cruelty free, they're not as good as the other ones.
Or, I mean, I think that they're getting it now.
They're getting it now.
When they first came out, it was a little bit more sheer, not as, not able to. You'd have to kind of build your layers to get your color rather than just being able to do it. But yeah, it's becoming more and more popular, which is
That makes me happy.
All right, we're going to do rapid fire questions. Now, answer these is
Oh,
whatever
dear.
first comes to your head. You don't,
They're very
it is rapid
educational
fire. So,
questions too.
well, our audience would kill us if we didn't have you answer
Yeah.
these at least.
Okay.
So, what is your favorite moisturizer for dry, normal, and oily skin?
Oh God, each. Okay, so I love oils for dry skin.
Oils for dry skin.
Oils, like straight oil. People are so afraid of
Taking
it,
notes.
but it's the best thing ever. Or for dry skin, oily skin. I think that. I don't know. There's so much out there. It just kind of depends on what your issue is. Oily, don't be afraid of moisture. I think a lot of times people are afraid to add that they're going to add on and it's going to make them break out more when really it just starts to irritate if you have acne or whatever and create more oil because it's trying to bring it from within since it's not getting it topically.
Sure.
And oily skins, love your oily skin because you will not get wrinkles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I tell everybody, they're like, oh, it's so oily. And I'm just like, you are going to be young forever. Like, love your oily skin.
Kind of like Aalia here.
Best concealer.
I'm in love with Shape Tape right now, the Tarte Shape Tape. I feel like
Shape Tape.
if there's anything I can't quite get covered, that's like my final,
All right.
it'll do it.
Okay.
Favorite beauty trick or beauty secret?
Beauty trick is probably... it's not really a trick, but it's very necessary, is like all of your skincare underneath to make sure that your skin is at its best point to be able to put anything on top of it because then it's going to blend easier, it's going to settle better.
Perfect. Most important skin routine.
I'd say cleansing, getting the day off, whether it's makeup or dirt or whatever you've been doing, sweat.
Any soap you're kind of obsessed with?
I switch my stuff all the time too. I'm really not I'm a terrible customer. I'm not dedicated to a brand.
Yeah.
But I also feel like for some reason, I feel like with my hair too, and it's probably not even true, but I feel like things stop working as well as they did in the beginning. So then I'll just switch it up.
Right.
Okay.
I try. But I love Is Clinical is a great skincare line. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Number one mistake you see people do and how to fix it makeup wise.
I am not a big fan of, there's three things that come to mind with my rapid fire. The real hard brows. I feel like that's making its way out, and I'm kind of really happy about it because then all anybody's looking at is your eyebrows and not you.
Right.
Yes.
The glittery opalescent highlight. It's
The glittery?
Yes. There's certain brands like Hourglass has an ambient lighting palette, so it does that highlighting and that thing, but it's more of a natural look.
Okay.
Whereas I think when these
I had that one
highlighters
on
came
today, so I'm
out.
so glad you said that.
Oh, do you? Oh, yeah. It's just
thought you were gonna say something bad.
it's just a glow instead of here's my highlighter, which is great for some things, when we are doing different, looks or
Right.
whatever, that definitely calls for it. But I mean, it's a little distracting sometimes.
Right.
Well, in pictures, I don't think people realize, in pictures, doesn't come up good, right? Because, how many times have you you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I look good, okay. And then you get a picture of yourself
You're
in the mirror and
whoa.
I'm like, wait a minute, did I look like that? We forget flash and lighting, all factors into that. But then, sometimes you get glares where you don't want them because you're all glimified and shiny-fied and, So, all right, well, perfect. Well, thank you for that. Listen, where can our audience find you on Instagram?
I'm not a huge Instagrammer. I try to just kind of tap into my life because I'm busy working, and when I'm not doing that, I've got my kids and everything, and it takes me forever to write a post. So, but my handle is Tanya Green Makeup, and I just kind of, here and there. I'm not a huge talk about myself. Like, this was very uncomfortable for me. I mean, it's fine, but
it so much.
I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of person, and not like a look at me.
Girl,
so.
you're doing Richie's makeup. You're killing it.
Great. You did great.
You did it great.
And for everyone else, thank you so much. Please do not forget to subscribe, comment, rate. Please, if you want to follow us on Instagram, you guys have our stuff. Also, unsugarcoatedmedia.com is our website.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has beauty, but not everyone can see it. But I ask you to please see it in yourself today. Thank you for being with us, and join us next time.
You're
Take care.
beautiful.
I love that. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Unsugar Coated Podcast with your hosts, Aalia and Alex and Alexandra Checa.